I knew there was something about Saito-san's fruit that I blanked out on. It's just like, oh god, there's a reason why I like this man. April 1867. I don't remember what this is. Is this the... Yes, it is.
あら、あなたは
Ito-san, Miki, and Saito-san and Heisuke. What are you guys doing so early in the morning?
そりゃあれだけのことがあった後、のんびり寝ていられるほど無神経ではありませんわ。雪村くん、怪我をしていたでしょ。傷の様子はどうなのかしら。
Oh, it's not that bad.
そう、それは何よりですわね。
His mood was almost the polar opposite of the previous night. He seemed now to be in rather high spirits. Ito-san, has something happened?
知りたい？教えてあげない。ま、だいたい想像はついてるかもしれないけど。ねえ、東堂くん、斉藤くん。
What? I cocked an eyebrow at Heisuke and Saito-san.
まあな。
The moment our eyes met, he looked away. That seemed odd. Saito-san?
今は知る必要はないということだ。
Unlike his companion, Saito-san met my gaze straight on, but his eyes were flat and utterly devoid of any emotion. It was as if he put up a wall.
なんだ。別れの挨拶にしちゃちとそっけなさすぎないか。それとも実はこんなところからはさっさと出ていきたいってのが本音なのか。
Get out of here?
三郎、余計なことは言わなくてもよろしくてよ。それでは私たちはもう行きますわ。雪村くん、ごきげんよう。
それではな、雪村。
またな。
And then they were gone, leaving me wondering just what had happened.
おや、雪村くん。もう起きてて大丈夫なのかい？
And we can skip this. Alright, so... Now we got a choice because we're thinking too much about this. I looked up to the sky, watching the clouds form in streaks above me, and then lowered my gaze. It seemed like just yesterday that we were all living our normal lives at the compounds. Then all of a sudden, we'd arrived at today, helpless as our troops split amongst themselves. I couldn't wrap my head around it. However, even with all of my confusion, I was especially worried about the guard. What worried me most were the people leaving with Ito-san. Heisuke and Saito-san. Would I ever get to see them again? Was this goodbye? I wanted to know what they were thinking. Were they still around? As I stood up to go look for them, I spotted Yamazaki walking toward me.
雪村君。
Yamazaki.
昨晩怪我をしたそうだな。傷の具合はどうなんだ？
I'm fine. Have you, seen Heisuke and Saito-san?
東堂さんと斉藤さんか。
His expression turned grim at the mention of their names. It was quite clear how he felt about the men who'd chosen to leave the Shinsengumi with Ito-san. Sorry for asking. I turned quickly to leave, but he held out a hand to stop me.
境内だ。向こうに行くのをさっき見かけた。
Thanks.
話をするなら早い方がいい。彼らがここを出た後はそれすらも許されなくなるからな。
There they were. Heisuke! Saito-san! They turned around with reserved expressions.
やっぱ捕まっちまったか。
Oh, did you want to be left alone? I can go.
んなことないって。俺もちゃんと話したいって思ってたからさ。
Good.
やはり来たか。話があるなら早く済ませてくれ。
Right. I just wanted to hear it from you. Why are you leaving the Shinsengumi?
理由か。
He scrunched up his face and scratched nervously at the side of his nose.
伊藤さんは同じ流派の先輩だし、昔から知ってるしさ。あの人が新選組に入ったのは俺が誘ったのがきっかけだったんだし、だから一緒に行動する義務があるんじゃねえかなって、そう思ったんだよ。
Heisuke had always struck me as kind, so it was no surprise that he felt he couldn't abandon Ito-san. But that means you'll leave everyone else behind. You might not ever get to see them again.
いきなり分派って言われて、俺もちょっと動揺してるところはあるんだけどさ。けど俺、もともと幕府に尽くしたいって思ってたわけじゃねえし、例の薬のこととかいろいろ考えると、伊藤さんが言う御領英治の方が合ってる気がするんだ。
I couldn't really think of anything to say, so I kept my mouth shut. After a moment, he continued.
俺だって本当はみんなとずっとバカ騒ぎしてたかったさ。だって江戸にいた頃から今までずっと一緒だったもんな。
His gaze drifted off into the distance, and his profile seemed almost heartbreakingly lonely. His mouth was a hard line. His mind was made up. What about you, Saito-san? I looked up at him.
自らの志に合うと感じて伊藤派に属することに決めた。
Are you an imperialist too?
征夷大将軍というのは本来夷敵を排するためにある役職。害意を払うという本分を忘れた幕府に尽くす道理はあるまい。
So you're saying that Kondo-san and Hijikata-san are wrong?
そうだ。
And because you don't agree with them, you're willing to walk away and never see them again?
それもやむを得んだろう。己の志を貫くためには情などに頓着するべきではない。
But I felt betrayed. How could you do this to us? We've been together for so long. And now you're just going to abandon us?
そう言うなよ。こっちもつれえんだからさ。
The look he gave me nearly broke my heart, and in that moment I suddenly understood how he felt. He was suffering too. Perhaps just as much as I was. And yet I'd said such horrible things.
いや、こっちこそごめんな。じゃあな。
And then he was gone, and I was left with my apology still forming on my lips. Heisuke, how could I have been so inconsiderate? I should have known that it was painful for him too.
ずっと共に頑張ってきたから これから先も一緒にか。あんたは己の志にそぐわなくとも長い間一緒にいたというだけで今後も行動を共にし続けるべきだというのか。情に流されて己のなすべきことを見失う。それでは本末転倒だろう。
But you can ignore your feelings so easily? Let me say that again because I read it wrong. Blah, blah. But can you ignore your feelings so easily? Isn't it hard for you to leave your friends behind?
しない。
Ow.
務めであれば仲間であろうと切る。そう決めれば迷うこともない。
I don't think I could ever understand that. Duty is important to you, I know, but still, was duty the only function of a member of the Shinsengumi? Did they exist only to fulfill that duty, at the exclusion of everything else? That seemed awfully, horribly sad. I wanted to speak, to tell Saito-san how I felt, but I knew that no matter what I said, it would simply slide off of him, unacknowledged and unwelcome. Saito-san, for his part, said nothing. We stood for a moment until he moved towards one of the many blossoming cherry trees covering the temple grounds.
"何度目だろうな。こうして今日で見る桜も。
Cherry blossoms? It must have been my imagination, but I could have sworn that Saito-san's face, as he looked at the blossoms above him, was sad.
時が移ろう中で、さまざまなものが変わっていく。世の動きも、思想も、そしてこの新選組も。
He reached out gently and let a single petal fall into his palm. For several moments, he simply looked at it. Are we changing too? He looked up. Our eyes met. We have. Is that why you're leaving? Because we've changed? He didn't answer, only gazed quietly up at the cherry blossoms. His mind had been made up long ago. There was nothing I could say that would change it now.
それでも、何もかもが変わってしまうわけではない。
I was surprised, not by his words, but by the small smile that appeared with them.
時代の移り変わりとともに変わるものもあれば、変わらぬものもある。そして俺は、変わらぬものをこそ信じている。
Things that do not change.
そう。変わらぬものだ。
And somehow, that meant he should go with Ito-san? It didn't make any sense. What Saito-san believed in was something else. I didn't know what yet, but I could feel it. So long as he didn't change, so long as he was still the man who could look at cherry blossoms and smile, then perhaps it was okay. Even if he was far away, perhaps our hearts could still feel the presence of the other. It was sad to think that he would no longer be nearby, but... Saito-san, could you give me that petal?
別に構わないが、どうするつもりなのだ、こんなもの。
I won't do anything with it. I just want to keep it. A reminder of my time with him.
あんたは物好きだな。だがいいだろう。ほら。
Thank you. I'll treasure it. My wound healed completely soon afterwards, but I kept the bandages on. Ah! I'm sorry. Flower petal! Flower petal! I didn't want anyone to see that my scar had healed. Since Ito-san, Heisuke, and Saito-san all left, the compounds felt so much larger and emptier. And Takara also left, and we can skip all this, oh god. Which should lead us to... yeah, it should lead us to 3 months later. We tell her yes. And now I get to do this. Once again, sleep refused to come. My mind worked furiously, turning over everything Sen had told me, examining it from every angle. I was a demon. Not only that, but I was the head of a pure-blooded demon clan that was nearly destroyed, my heritage being the reason for Cosmo's continued interest. Gosh. I had decided to stay with the Shinsengumi, but was that really the best idea? Should I have left instead? I'd wanted to stay, of course, and I didn't really think leaving was a reasonable choice, but what if I'd made a mistake? I heard a sound from outside and it made me jump. That sound, could it be?
Yukimura-kun, 夜分遅く失礼します。
I heard Shimada from the hallway. Yes? The door snapped open as Shimada stepped in. His eyes darted back and forth nervously and his body was tense. Has something happened?
はい。鬼たちが屯所に襲撃をかけてきました。
What?
奴らの狙いは君です。この部屋でじっとしていてください。
But I was the reason they'd come here. How could I justify sitting on my hands while others fought my battles for me? I didn't know what to do. Well, the guy does, and it says, go outside. They're after me. If I go outside of the compounds, then I won't cause any more trouble to everyone.
そんなこと、誰も迷惑などとは思っていません。
If they find out that I'm not here anymore, they may leave.
それは確かにそういう手もあるかもしれませんが。では、行くなら俺も共に行きます。
All right. Shimada and I left my room, attempting to leave the compounds from the back. Suddenly, I thought I saw something fly past me. Then, it seems like Shimada noticed it too. Then, once more, his large body was flung high through the air. Poor Shimada, every time something happens to Shimada, I just feel bad. Shimada's body was smashed against the wall. Shimada! I tried to run up to him, but then...
しばらく目を覚まさないでしょう。
Oh, are we doing... Oh, I see. Okay, I know what we're doing then.
君は私と共に来てもらいます。本意ではありませんが、これ以上お遊びに時間を割きたくはないもので。
I tried to escape, but it was
無駄なことを。
He came from behind and bound my hands before putting his hands over my mouth. I desperately tried to shake him off, but he held me down with all of his weight and power, so I couldn't even budge. Where was he taking me? He moved unhindered to the back entrance. The rest of the Shinsengumi had been drawn off by the commotion elsewhere. I could hear the clang of swords from somewhere nearby, but I couldn't see anything. Perhaps if I cried out. Hijikata-san and the men may hear me, but since he was covering my mouth, I wasn't even able to scream.
おとなしくしていてください。そうすればもう誰も傷つけずに済みます。我々の目的は君を捕らえることであって、誰かを傷つけることではないのですから。
I saw Shimada's limp body, crumpled at the base of the pillar, and bit my lip. What should I do? Stay quiet, apparently. If I resisted, the Shinsengumi would suffer. But if Amagiri was telling the truth, then all I had to do was keep quiet and they'd be safe. We left the Nishihawanji temple and shot out into the back streets of Kyo. He ran so fast I almost felt as if we were flying. His hold on me had never relaxed, but he was moving faster than I'd ever seen anyone go. Not only were demons strong, it seemed they had other powers we'd yet to see. I shuddered. For now, it was probably best that I stayed quiet. I didn't know where he was taking me, but perhaps I could learn something about them if I did as he asked. My goal would be to gather information and then look for a chance to escape. I was trying to guess where we might be going when Amagiri suddenly stopped. What's wrong? I didn't know what happened.
このままかけていたら足を切り落とされかねなかったので。
What? Before I had a chance to ponder what he'd meant, Amagiri called out to the darkness.
そろそろ顔を出してはいかがです。
After a moment, I saw a shape move in the shadows. It stepped forward into the light, revealing... Saito-san! I don't believe it. I haven't seen him once ever since he had left the Shinsengumi.
こんなところで会うとは意外だな。
通していただけませんか。急いでいましたね。
何故あんたがその娘を連れている。さしずめ豚書を荒らした上、新選組と関わりがある者を連れ去ったといったところか。このまま見過ごすわけにはいかんな。
He's expressionless as always. But his eyes seemed like he showed signs of concern towards me. I wonder if I imagined it.
どういう風の吹き回しです。君はもはや新選組とは関わりがないと聞いていましたが。
俺が新選組に属しているか否かは今は関係ない。問題は貴様がその娘を連れているということだ。同意の上で連れ出したわけではあるまい。
もしそうだとしたらどうするつもりなのです。
問答無用だ。行くぞ。
The final word became a sudden yell, and Saito-san launched himself towards Amagiri, his sword springing from its scabbard. The momentum of his charge drove the blade into a sideways slash, and I heard the hiss of a sword. Did I just do the thing twice? And I heard the hiss of a sword pass inches from my ear. Amagiri saw Saito's blade and dodged it. I could hear the wind from the blade pass my ears. Why are we saying this again?
なるほど、早い。人の技とは思えぬ腕前だ。
その娘を抱えたままやり合うつもりか。あんたたちはその娘に死なれては困るのではないか。
True, if Amagiri hadn't dodged that last strike, I would have been split nearly in two.
俺はその娘が死んだところで困らん。新選組とは関わりのない身ゆえな。
Although it sounded cold, I could sense that he didn't truly mean it. Because if he truly didn't care if I died or not, he wouldn't have needed to get in the way of Amagiri. Suddenly, the weight of Amagiri's grip was gone.
いいでしょう。今夜は君の策に乗って引き下がることとしましょう。
And with that, Amagiri was gone. Another shadow in a night full of them.
怪我はないか。
When he asked me, I finally got a grip of myself. I'm alright. Thank you, Saito-san.
礼には及ばん。雪がかり上、助けたに過ぎんからな。
Would he have really killed me if Amagiri had refused to back down? It didn't seem very likely to me, but there was no way to know for sure without asking him. Then again, asking him wouldn't help either. I doubted he would give me a straight answer if I did.
何がおかしい？
None of that, however, answered the question that had abruptly forced itself into my mind. What was Saito-san doing here? Or what was Saito-san doing there? Are you... Perhaps this was more of a convenient imagination on my end. Going to come back to the Shinsengumi?
勘違いするな。たまたま通りがかっただけだ。
Passing through the back streets of Kyoto in the middle of the night? The only place he could have been going was the temple.
そんなことより、御領エジと新選組が関わるのはご法度だろう。誰かに見られると面倒だ。もう行け。
But I'm not actually part of the Shinsengumi. The expression of Saito-san's face wasn't one I'd seen before. On another person, I might have called it surprised. Surprise.
うまい方便を考えつくものだな。それが副長に通じるのかどうかはともかく。
Yeah, he had a point. Hijikata-san would almost certainly take a much stricter view of the situation.
どうした？何を笑っている？
Nandemonai. He just called Hijikata-san Commander, Saito-san.
単に言い間違えただけだ。そう呼んでいた時期が長かったからな。もう行け。いつまでもここにいると不定老師に襲われかねんぞ。
But, Saito-san...
あんたが行かぬというのなら俺が行く。鬼の気配も消えたようだから一人でも帰れるだろう。
Oh. And he was gone. I know Saito-san was saying all that, but maybe his heart was still with the Shinsengumi. although Saito-san didn't specifically say so. For some reason, I was sure of it.